Okay.
We don't want to say anything we don't want the whole world to hear, right?
All right.
Well, last week I did everything but press the place that said go live. So I thought I had it done. So this week your story will be safe.
Wait a second.
It's actually just 7 o'clock, so let's give it another minute or two before.
Yeah, well, the
somebody-
foremans are
Yeah, I'm
coming. The
just letting the
foremans are
foremans
coming
in.
in. So
Yes, the foremans are.
Yeah, they are.
Actually, was on a Zoom call where we were talking about the fact that people wave to each other. So one person deliberately stopped waving when anybody else came on, except I think that he sort of forgot you do it automatically that by
Yeah.
the third the third one that came on, he was waving again. Like, you just.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Sandy,
You have the best background.
Dory's daughter had her baby. You guys are muted. You're muted.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I'm highlighted. All right.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Now
so
we're on.
I
Didn't do
highlighted it. So that way, whenever you're ready, we can get started with our
That's
bonus
true.
before we make Havdalah.
All right, so I can get started now. The last few weeks we've been doing stories with Elijah, and this week we're not. So just give you a little warning, there is no hidden Elijah in this story. This one has some romance and a little bit of adventure. So it's a little bit different than the ones that we've been doing. It's called The Wedding Present. And it opens when we see Princess Pilar trying on a beautiful wedding gown and admiring herself in the mirror. The dress is just perfect. The veil is right. Her shoes are flawless. Perfect, she says, and pulls off her veil and tumbles on the bed. But whom will I marry? Now, hearing that, you might think that there was nobody that wanted to marry her. Well, actually, what she has is the opposite problem. There were too many men who wanted to marry her. They were all kind, they were all handsome, and they were all funny, and they all happened to be three. Oops, did I get muted? Okay, I'm unmuted again. To make it worse, she loved all of them. So she didn't know who in the world she was possibly going to be able to choose. So at first she decided, well, maybe she'll just never get married. But she looked at her beautiful wedding gown and thought, just looking at it made her sad. So she thought she was going to have to make a decision. But how? How could she decide? So she finally calls the three brothers together, who were also very good friends to each other. So even though they all wanted to marry, the three wanted to marry the princess, they weren't mad or aggravated with each other. They were just hoping that the best man would win at some point. So Princess Pilar says to them, I love all of you, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to possibly choose. So instead, I'm going to propose a contest. The brothers looked at each other and thought, okay, that seems fair. She says, so she told them, each of you are going to go on your own way. And in 1 year's time, you're going to come back with a present for me. And I'm not going to know whose present belongs to who, but I will pick the present that I think is the best, and I will marry that person. Is that okay with all of you? Do you guys agree with that? Agreed, the brothers said. So they kissed their beloved princess goodbye, shook hands with each other, and set off on their separate adventures. Well, we're going to skip some of the little details of the adventures because 1 year later, the brothers meet on the outskirts of Pilar's kingdom, just as they planned. They were tired from their long journeys because a year is a long time to be gone and not be at home. They hugged each other joyfully, and they were all full of enthusiasm because they each thought, of course, that they had found the best present. Raphael, the oldest, said, dear brothers, I love you too, but you're both going to lose. Look at what I have. And he spread out a tattered and stained carpet. His younger brother started to laugh. Do you think Pilar's going to like that old, stained, ridiculous carpet? Actually, I do, said Raphael, and he stepped on the carpet. Just watch. As he spoke, the carpet lifted in the air and started to fly over his brothers' heads. And he moved it so it was going through the air, and he stayed steady on it and finally pushed his hands down, and the carpet went down and went back to the ground. A magic carpet, said Gabriel II. Brother, very, very nice. That's a good one, but I'm sorry to tell you that my gift is even more wonderful. From a velvet bag, he pulled out an old tarnished mirror. You could see where there used to be gems around the side, but they'd fallen off. And it looked like, again, something that was used in secondhand. And the youngest brother, Miguel, said, an old mirror? Really? What's so special about it? Well, when you look into it, Gabriel said, you can see anywhere you want, no matter how near or how far. He tapped on the cracked glass, which immediately showed their old parents sitting by the hearth at home drinking and talking tea. And since the three brothers hadn't seen them in a year, they kind of juggled with each other to be able to get a good look at their parents. That is wondrous, Miguel said in a quiet voice. All I brought was a leaf. A leaf, Raphael said. Little brother, said Gabriel. What are you thinking? Well, listen, said Miguel, and you'll understand. I traveled everywhere and found nothing to bring Pilar. I was in a faraway land, exhausted and sad too, because I knew it was almost time for us to meet, and I didn't have anything to bring back. I was sitting under this strange, gnarly tree that had blue leaves resting when I noticed a mother bird teaching her little birds to fly. One by one, she kind of nudged them out of the nest. But the last one, this little teeny bird, wasn't quite ready. He flapped his wings a couple of times, but he fell to the ground instead. And he wasn't moving. He seemed so badly hurt. The mother bird snatched one of the blue leaves from the tree, flew down to her baby, and pressed it to the leaf to his beak. In a moment, the little baby had hopped up chirping happily as if it had never been hurt. So I plucked a leaf from the tree and returned home as quickly as I could. So Miguel put out a tiny box and he opened it. Inside was a flat, round leaf, the color of the summer sky. Miguel looked from Raphael's confused face to Gabriel's skeptical face and said, I don't know. I guess I hope that maybe it's some kind of magic, but there's no way to try it without ruining it. Raphael jumped up and hugged Miguel. You never know, little brother. It's Pilar's decision to make. That's true, he said. And to cheer you up, let's go look in my mirror and see how she's doing. He held it up and he tapped on it. When the three brothers peered into the mirror, they gasped with horror. Their once beautiful Pilar was laying in bed looking very pale. Doctors paced around her bedside, and the king and queen were sitting nearby crying. How could it be that Pilar, their vigorous, playful, beautiful Pilar, had become so ill? Quick, said Raphael, hop onto my carpet. We must go to her at once. In an instant, the carpet sped them across the kingdom and right into the window of Pilar's bedchambers. The princess's parents stared at the brothers open-mouthed, but Miguel ignored them and the crowd of royal doctors, and he headed straight to Pilar and placed the leaf on her lips. Not a sound was heard in the room. After a moment, Pilar's mouth began to move. She slowly chewed the leaf, and then her eyelids began to flutter. And then she sat up in bed, jiggled her legs over the side, and laughingly demanded why everybody was staring at her. Oh, she's well, her mother said. She's well again. Oh, thank God your three friends turned up when they did, the moment you needed them, said her father, the king. The room was filled with all kinds of chatters as the brothers hugged Pilar, their old friend, and her parents cried tears of relief, and the royal doctors discussed what in the world caused the sudden recovery. Suddenly, everyone in the room, though, became quiet because it was the moment for Pilar's decision to be made. The queen held her daughter's hand and as they considered the brothers' gifts. The magic mirror that had showed them she was in distress, the magic carpet that had flown them to her, and the magic leaf that had cured her illness. I can tell you no more than that, Pilar, her mother said. I'm afraid your contest has made it even harder for you to choose among them. Oh, no, mother, Pilar said, smiling. I have chosen my husband. I will marry the brother who brought me the leaf. Miguel could barely had time to call, that's my gift, when Raphael stepped in front of him and said, Pilar, don't rush this decision. Remember, without the mirror, we would have never known you were in danger. And without the carpet, we would have never gotten you on here in time to save you. And it's true, Gabrielle added. The leaf did heal you, but it wouldn't have worked without all the other magic gifts. Are you sure you made the right decision? Indeed, I have, Pilar said gently. She hugged Raphael and Gabriel in gratitude for saving her life. She says, the leaf is not my favorite gift merely because it healed my illness. It is my favorite because the giver could have used its power only once, and he used it for me. A carpet can fly 1,000,000 times. The mirror will show thousands of pictures. Miguel could have saved the leaf for himself because surely someday he will also be ill and need it. But no, he used it and gave it to me, something that can never be used again. She held out her hand and Miguel took it. That is why I chose you, she told him. Your gift showed you loved me even more than you loved yourself. The next time Pilar wore her wedding gown was the day that she married Miguel. The king and queen beamed over their wise daughter and her loving husband. The people of the kingdom were happy finally for the happy couple. And even Raphael and Gabrielle danced at their best friend's wedding because her little brother had won the contest, fair and square. So that's our story for the evening. It's nice to see a competition where people are all happy at the end and willing to admit when they won and when they lost. I mean, they each pleaded their case, but so that was our adventure for the evening.
Very good. Thank you. So I wanted to share a couple of things before we count the Omer tonight, which we will do before we make Havdalah. And I think I sent one of them out to you, but there's a book called, it's a coloring book for the Omer. And so each day there's a different page, and this is for today, to look at Gemilut Chasadim, at acts of loving kindness. I care, you matter, and I'm here for you with the hands together. Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim, Pirkei Avot teaches that acts of loving kindness are one of the world's foundations. Approach everything you do with care, empathy, and compassion. So I wanted to share that as today's thought for the Omer. But more importantly, I think I sent this out to you last time. The Hipakesh Zoom, about looking at each other on Zoom and appreciating all the faces. They don't only have the cat, they don't have the dogs here, but it's close. That all of us are created b'tselem Elohim in the divine image, and that image is reflected on every face. So as we look at all the faces on the screen, to consider how we see God in each face on the screen. So once we do the blessing, we'll take that moment to, again, see one another and do that together. So the blessing for the counting of the Omer, and actually, I didn't change it from yesterday. Today is the 21st day of the Omer. So we will do that. I just cut and pasted the blessing in and didn't get the last line changed. So my apologies, but it is the 21st day of the Omer. So you can join with me. I'm ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Praised be you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, instilling in us the holiness of mitzvot by commanding us to count the Omer. And tonight we begin the 21st day of the Omer. So I want to go back up to this thought about remembering that everyone's created in the divine image and it's reflected in every face. So when we see one another in Zoom, it's good to remember that and to take a moment to look and see how we can see the divine in the faces of each of us. And so I'm going to put us all on the gallery view so we can see one another and appreciate each other in that way, because we don't always think of it in those terms. And then while we are doing that, I'm going to put the blessings for Havdalah in the chat. I can't do it ahead of time because then it won't show for anyone who's not yet in the room at this time. So I have to wait and do it right beforehand. And I wasn't going to do it and miss part of the story or potentially distract you from it. So I have to wait until we're ready to make Havdalah. So I hope that you have something sweet to smell, something sweet to drink, and those of you who feel it's safe where you are in your homes will have a candle to light as well. And you're welcome to unmute and sing with me. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei me'orei ha'esh borei me'orei ha'esh. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol ben or l'choshech בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. So as we lift up the sacred and the difference between the holy and the everyday, we take another moment just to savor the sweet smell, taste, and warmth of our symbols of Shabbat. As we prepare to leave Shabbat and enter the rest of the week. When you're ready, put your candle out. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimheira v'yameinu, Yavo Eleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hakiladi. And we wish one another a Shavua Tov, a good week. Shavua Tov, 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 a good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase, a good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. Shavua Tov.
Shavua
Tov.
Tov.
Put us back together.
Mhm.